Hi, I'm Peyton Kelly, and I'm a senior here at Carmel High.
Hi, my name is Sawyer Kridech. I'm a senior here at Carmel High School.
I'm Elias, and I'm also a senior.
Alright, so we invited you guys today to talk about how you feel about the statement, everything happens for a reason.
All right, I'll kick it off. So, I believe in the statement that everything happens for a reason to an extent. I think that as a quick overview, that kind of fate and destiny, which I know sounds a little cheesy, but I do think that they kind of exist in a sense, but I also think that it can only take you so far. And then I think it is, here's my spiel, that once you're there or once something does happen, it's up to you and it's your responsibility to take what you can from it. And I think there are a lot of situations in life where you're not going to know the reason for them right away, and maybe you never will, or over time you'll figure it out. But I think it's kind of our job when something does happen to take the opportunity to learn everything that we can from it, because I really do believe that something good can happen out of negative and positive situations. But yeah.
Are you a very spiritual person?
Yes and no. I don't think I'm as spiritual. My mom is pretty spiritual, and some of my family members. But I also have family members who are more religious. But personally, I'm not like overly spiritual. But I feel like I've had life situations that have been very difficult or like started off hard. And I think that from that, I've learned to be an optimistic person and really positive and have that kind of positive outlook on life, which can be hard, but it's a choice. And we can all have our pessimistic moments and acknowledge negative things, but I think it's important to try to go towards the positive way and just kind of do what we can to make the best out of things, because we do have that choice, in my opinion.
So I have an interesting kind of opinion on that statement. Not your statement specifically, but like just the idea of everything happens for a reason. So I think if we're going to answer this question, I think we do need to understand like the idea of motive, or the idea of, like just like pre-reasoning, or I guess just motive. That's the word to describe it. And I think my logic for that is, even no matter if you say, like, no matter what, no matter any single action, any single thing, even if you claim it has no motive, I mean, this can even go deep into inanimate objects, or like this is how science works. Is there's motive and there's meaning to everything. Like when you're, for example, like if I were just to like tap Elias' shoulder right now, I mean, you may think that has no reason to it, but I mean, I'm just doing that to kind of show you, prove a point. And I mean, when you take that into real life perspectives, like maybe if you didn't get the job you want or the promotion you want or get into the college you want, I mean, that could be like as something like, okay, there's reason behind that. Like that's pretty obvious. And I mean, if you go something like deeper, like go into science, maybe go into mathematics, like if you go into like areas like that, I mean, if you mix two chemicals and like chemistry or whatever, I mean, there's reason why those two chemicals are reacting or doing this certain thing. In mathematics, I mean, there's a reason, why certain formulas and certain functions like help you get to certain answers in certain ways. And so I just think, personally, I mean, if there was no reason, if there's something that happened for no reason, I mean, that would just violate all laws of philosophy, of science, and of like, for depending what it is, like depending what field, but it would violate all laws of science, of physics, I mean, or just, or philosophy, just, or just, basic logic. Like, it would violate all basic logic. And so, yeah, I mean, personally, in that sense, everything happens for a reason. There's motive behind everything.
My opinion of the statement is, I honestly think in some cases it can kind of be a little disrespectful. And my reason behind that is like, if someone goes through a very traumatic experience in their life, like let's say, like if you use the example of a small child who has cancer and is gonna die, it's a pretty horrible thing. Like, some small kid with cancer, and you tell them like, oh, don't worry, everything happens for a reason. Like you got cancer for a reason. Like there's like, you're gonna die, but like, your parents are gonna learn that something. Like really, like why? I feel like it's used as like a catch-all for people who are going through like a hard time and be like, yeah, you got to grow from this. There's a reason it happened, but like, why does a child why should a young kid have to suffer through an illness, or why should there be war and poverty and stuff like that? You can't use that to just be like, oh yeah, you guys can't afford food, but like, there's a reason you can't. It's like, no, what's the reason? The reason is just like general luck, maybe, or your family didn't make enough money for a certain thing. And so I just feel like it kind of invalidates that person's problem and being like, no, you don't actually have to worry about it. Like, your problem isn't as bad. There's a reason you're suffering through this, but it's like, there doesn't need to be a reason. Like, I'm a non-spiritual person. Like Peyton said, my mom's very into spirituality, and I try to be like, accepting to it. I kind of ask her about it every so often, and I kind of try to understand her side of the thing. But yeah, I don't believe in like a higher power or anything like that. I kind of think, like Sawyer said, the only rules our universe follows is that of mathematics, science, and whatever.
Well, I'll maybe go backtrack on that a little bit. I mean, that was kind of I kind of strung mathematics and science out there. I think the more basic word I could use is just logic. Like, anything happening for no reason would just violate all rules of logic and understanding. And honestly, I think logic is kind of like that's usually the backbone. That is kind of the backbone for ideas like science and physics and mathematics and even like history and going forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just kind of correct myself there.
I have something to piggyback off of that in a way, and like kind of what Elias said. I don't like the whole horrible situation of a little child with an illness, but it's a good example to say you're not, like, for something like that's really tragic, or like big awful conflicts and traumatic events in people's lives, like, you're not going to know right away what the reason for that is. And granted, there probably isn't a reason besides the fact that you might have carried some gene, whatever, DNA malfunction, mutation, etc. You have this now disease. That's the logical reason for it. But I think that even then, I mean, it's awful, and you're not going to know the reason for a lot of those traumatic things, but over time, if you are going to want to live your life in a way that's valuable for you, you're going to have to make some, like, hard choices, and you're going to have to make the choice that, okay, this is crappy, but I have to choose to go about it in a certain way, which isn't an easy choice. And even with that comes so much difficulty and long time of, like, recovery from certain emotions, etc. But, like, I like to think of, I have a twin sister with special needs, so the reason my sister is like that is because there were genes in my parents that would give the possibility that my brother, myself, or my sister would turn out in a certain manner, and there wasn't 100% probability that would happen to one of us or all of us, but it did. And so for the reason behind it is genetics. However, going about my life when I was younger, I would question, like, why me? What's the reason behind this? Like, I was very angry, and I felt guilty for feeling angry about my situation. And as a kid, I was like, why did this have to happen to my family? The reason why, well, genetics, but it can happen to a bunch of families, or it could not have happened at all. And so then I reached a certain point in life where I'm like, okay, this is my situation. I might not know the exact reason why my sister was brought into my life at the time. And over time, you kind of realize what a gift that something hard can be. And again, I'm 17. It took me 10 years to kind of take a more positive outlook on it. And I think that kind of relates to a lot of different things. Is you might not originally know the reason, but if you make an effort to try to find one in a way and how it can help you, then there kind of is a reason for everything, or everything does happen for something good. But I also think that, I mean, it's also just like kind of like what Sawyer and Elias were saying, like, there is logic behind things in a sense, and life sucks sometimes, and you might not know a reason, or you can work to find one, or you can, or whatever, but it's like one of those questions that doesn't really have one answer, but I think there's a lot of different ways to it.
I can definitely add on to that. I mean, mentioning with your sister, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you don't have to be sorry.
I can understand it's pretty hard to kind of have to feel that kind of a lot. It's not my business, but yeah.
It's all good now. It's okay. You don't have to.
The reason I wanted to bring that up though is because I was watching the movie Coda the other night, and so it's a good one. And so what I liked about that movie, and I thought that was really interesting, is basically, like, the main character, she's hearing, like she can hear, but her entire family is pretty much deaf. Yeah. And so I just thought about like the reasoning logic behind that. So she has a brother in the film too, and both her parents are deaf, and so it's like, how in like a logical why like I'm trying to understand, like, okay, dang, like this is crazy, like this is like a 1 in a million situation, like how did this happen, why does it happen, like this character, like how did she not get deaf as well, like. And it was interesting because I looked up after, like, and it was pretty interesting. I read the statistic that 90% of children born from deaf parents, like, they're usually hearing, like, afterwards. But then you realize, okay, she has a brother, and he's deaf. And so it's like, wow, like, how do these situations occur? And it's like you're wondering why is in this situation that Ruby, the main character of the film, is in, like, why does it exist? Because it certainly does. I feel like it could. It's like, Coda's not based on a true story, but that idea, like that dynamic, family dynamic. I mean, there are real life Coda's children of deaf adults out there, and it's like, how does that happen? Like, how does that occur? Like, why does it occur? So it's like, yeah, does it happen for a reason? Like, what's the reason? I mean, yeah, it's genetics.
Yeah, I think I really liked Peyton's take on it. How you can kind of like use it to, better yourself. And I think that's something valuable because, let's say you go through something sad or traumatic, you can kind of like tell yourself like, oh man, this sucks, like, or you can kind of tell yourself, if you believe in the statement, you can say, okay, why did this happen? Yeah, okay, maybe like God smited me for something. like, if it happened for a reason, like, what's the reason? Like, I need to do something in my life now and in the future because I can't change what happened in the past. I need to go and take what I learned from this and, make that reason something good. Like, let's say go back to the kid with the cancer. Maybe your little brother dies from a young age. He's got cancer. What's that reason? Like, okay, and someone might take it like, oh man, I need to work to find a cure for cancer. I gotta donate money for cancer. I gotta start some foundation for it. I think a lot of people tell themselves it is what it is. This is like a better version of that because you can tell it is what it is. But you can also say, hey, that happened, can't change it, but I can move forward, and unlike it is what it is. There's path for growth. There's a path for the future. Something changing yourself, making yourself better.
I always like to say, like, acknowledge the hard things or the bad things in your life, but don't dwell on them in a sense. And I think like it also, like, don't just like push them behind you. Like, it's like, all right, I realize this, and I'm just gonna sulk and be pity yourself for like a few minutes, maybe an hour if it's some serious situation, or a little bit more, but don't dwell on it and keep it inside too, just, it's okay to, I always say, it's okay to like acknowledge the bad things, but you gotta move forward too. And it doesn't mean like push it aside. It means, okay, I'm gonna tackle this and I'm gonna approach this. And so, anyway, that's like, I think that's something that we can do to make things a little better sometimes.
Hard stuff like that, obviously that just kind of pilots like your mindset, and that just kind of like pilots what you like your mindset and just what you think, and it definitely just gives you some experience, and I guess as well, you start to earn certain skills that you start to become used to, certain skills kind of from like certain different experiences. Like, I feel like personally, like myself, like I feel like my intuition has been, I've had some hard stuff happen, but like, I feel like my like stuff like that, like my intuition on things is like, I feel like I can like predict stuff happening before, like be able to make thoughts and predictions on things before they happen. And other things like that too. And for some people, maybe like you, Peyton, like you may be able to have more empathy or compassion, or
yeah, definitely.
You may have a better understanding of that. Elias, I don't know about you, but what would you want to say about that?
I think we got to wrap it up. We're almost to the bell.
You know what?
I'd love to keep talking about it.
I'm gonna say something controversial to end the podcast. Okay. I didn't like the new Taylor Swift album. It sucked. I hated it. I think the Chiefs are gonna win the Super Bowl this year. The 49ers are horrible. Brock Purdy can't throw the ball.
Sorry. Okay. Pause. Do you think that everything happens for a reason. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to ponder.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yami.
Yeah. Yay, snaps for the podcast.
Thanks, guys.
Don't listen to the new Taylor Swift album.
Okay, we'll do.